A transfer of rulership is coming, and the kingdom of heaven will be on earth. Righteousness will be spread throughout the whole four corners of the earth. Wickedness will be put down.
Consider the lilies, how they grow. They toil not, they spin not. And yet I say unto you that Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. If then God so clothed the grass which is today in the field and tomorrow is cast into the oven, how much more will he clothe you, O ye of little faith? And seek not ye what ye shall eat or what ye shall drink, neither be ye of doubtful mind. For all these things do the nations of the world seek after, and your Father knoweth that ye have need of these things. But rather seek ye the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell that ye have, and give alms. Provide yourselves bags which wax not old, a treasure in the heavens that faileth not, where no thief approacheth, neither moth corrupteth. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.
According to the Holy Scriptures, Yahweh Shai, the Son of the Most High, is set to bring immortality to the nation of Israel, the elect, via establishing the tabernacle of David, as we talk about the second coming of who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. He is coming to take down this current world ruled by Esau, Edom, and establish a righteous kingdom, which is synonymous with the throne of David. That's scriptural, which is a government that's going to run this world in righteousness.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to us younger brothers. And peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bashem Al Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful lake, the believers, the listeners who may have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Al Shai. All right. What I want to get into this morning is a continuation of the book of 2 Kings chapter 7, going into famine and abundance. All right, famine and abundance. Okay, in this account, it shows us how quickly, the Lord can change circumstances. It shows how fast things can get, brutal. It can get, very, very scarce. Okay, very detrimental. And then how things can turn around. Okay, and there be abundance. And this is an account. And a lot of these accounts that we read, they show that he is. They show that he is. And we're coming to a time where we're just going to have to believe wholeheartedly that he is, because we're going to be in, different circumstances, different trials, okay, all these different things, and we're just going to have to fully believe that Yahweh Bashem Al Shai, that he is, okay? So, let's get straight into it. Go to the book of 2 Kings, the 7th chapter. All right, and get in the NLT. Share this out real quick. All right, so let's get to it. 2 Kings 7:1. It says, "Now remember in the sixth chapter, okay, you had let's go back real quick to the sixth chapter just to recap. Going towards the end, now was famine in the land, and the king, all right, of Israel, all right, the northern tribes, he sent a messenger, to Elisha, okay, and he was speaking about how he wanted to take Elisha's head. He wanted Elisha's head because the Lord was bringing misery, okay, in Samaria. There was a major famine. You know, they said people eating dove dongs and donkey heads, and women, eating their children. And, it was bad. It got bad quick. You know, and because you had the Syrian military, all right, doing the siege. They wasn't letting nothing come in. All right, and once someone does a siege on you in the ancient world, okay, whenever your food supply will run out, nothing is coming in. You know, so there will be famine. All right, because you had a famine to where the Lord, wouldn't cause it to rain, so you will have no crops growing. Okay, there will be no harvest. You know, year after year, and eventually you'll run out of your surplus, and then it'll be famine. Okay, but you had a siege, to where a enemy military cut you off, okay, from supplies, and once you use up what you have, within the gates of the city, then you was done. You see, and this type of famine, the Lord had allowed, was an opposing military, okay, which we know in this time Esau, he's going to cut Jake off, from resources. He's going to cut everybody off, but there's going to be an emphasis on Jake, okay. Now I'm reading 32 and 33, and then we jump back into verse 7. 2 Kings 6:32. All right, and 33 says, Elisha was sitting in the house with the elders of Israel when the king sent a messenger to summon him. But before the messenger arrived, Elisha said to the elders, a murderer has set a man to cut off my head. All right, has sent a man to cut off my head. When he arrives, shut the door and keep him out. We will soon hear his master's steps following him. While Elisha was still saying this, the messenger arrived, and the king, all right, it says, and the king said, all this misery is from the Lord. Why should I wait for the Lord any longer? Okay, so this is the message coming from the king of Israel, and he's sending his officer, to behead Elisha. Okay, so when you get to the seventh chapter, this dialogue continues. Elisha replied, listen to this message from the Lord. This is what the Lord Yahweh Bashim al Shai says. By this time tomorrow, in the markets of Samaria, 5 quarts of choice flour will cost only 1 piece of silver, and 10 quarts of barley grain will cost only 1 piece of silver. So Elisha says, well, look, there's going to be abundance. We know it's a famine now, but now the Lord finna bring abundance. You see, because you had, they were selling donkey heads for like 80 pieces of silver, okay, and Dom's dove for like, 5 pieces, man. But now he's like, nah, you're gonna get 5 quarts of choice flour, okay, which you make bread or whatever, okay, for 1 piece of silver. Just letting you know that the Lord's gonna bring abundance to a dire situation, okay. The officer, okay, assisting the king said to the man of the Most High, that couldn't happen even if the Lord opened the windows of heaven, man. So he showed doubt. He had doubt. You see? So it's not going to go good for him. Why? Because he had doubt. You see? And it says, but Elisha replied, you will see it happen with your own eyes, but you won't be able to eat any of it. So Elisha telling them, it's going to happen, but you not going to eat none of it. And what stopped him from partaking is what? Unbelief. Because we know one of the things that the Most High hates, okay, is unbelief. Okay, so when you go, get a couple precepts. Let's go here. Um, let's get this in the book of Second Ezra, not Second Ezra, the book of Sirach. You know, but the thing that should stand out, is this unbelief. From this officer of the king. And you go to Sirach 2, okay, and I started at 10. Oh, I started. Yeah, I started 7. Said, "Ye that fear the Lord, wait for His mercy, and go not aside, lest ye fall." Okay, so we have to. We're going to be in a situation where we're just going to have to wait for the Lord's mercy, man, and we can't go aside. You see, we can't, bend the knee, take the sea hill because it seems like the easy way out. Nah, man, we gotta wait on the Lord's mercy, man. The Lord, hey, it could get dire. Okay, because the scripture say we're going to be redeemed from famine. So redeem means to bring back or to restore. Okay, so hey, we're going to have to go through, those days, those times, and we can experience scarcely before we experience the abundance. It says, "Ye that fear the Lord, believe Him, and your reward shall not fail. Ye that fear the Lord, hope for good, and for everlasting joy and mercy." Look at the generation of old and see that did ever any trust in the Lord and was confounded, or did any abide in His fear and was forsaken, or whom did He ever despise that called upon Him? For the Lord is full of compassion and mercy, long suffering and very pitiful, and forgiveth sins and saveth in the time of affliction. Woe be to the fearful hearts and faint hands, and the sinner that goeth both ways, man. And this officer is an example, of a fearful heart, faint hearted that believe not. When you read verse 13, it says, "Woe unto him that is faint hearted, for he believeth not, therefore shall he not be defended." That's why Elisha said it's gonna be abundance in the city, but you're not gonna partake in it. You know, just like the Lord is gonna bring abundance to His elect in this time of scarcity, but the unbelievers not gonna partake in it. Okay, and they don't believe that He is. Okay, now let's go back. We'll get some more. Just want to get that. Uh, go back to Second Kings. This is Second Kings 7:3 said, "Now there were 4 men with leprosy sitting at the entrance of the city gates. It said, Why should we sit here waiting to die?" They asked each other. All right. It says, "We will starve if we stay here, but with the famine in the city, we will starve if we go back there. So we might as well go out and surrender to the Armenian army. If they let us live, so much the better. But if they kill us, we will have died anyway." So at twilight, they set out for the camp of the Armenians, but when they came to the edge of the camp, no one was there. So in their mind, they were like, "Look, instead of just sitting here and die, we might as well just go to the Armenians. They might, let us live. They might have mercy, or they might put us to death. But hell, we don't have nothing to lose. We just sitting here waiting to die anyway." So the Lord put the spirit on these 4 lepers, okay, to go to the Armenians, okay. Um, so going back, okay, it says, "For the Lord had caused the Armenian army to hear the clatter of speeding chariots and the galloping of horses and the sounds of a great army approaching. The king of Israel has hired the Hittites and the Egyptians to attack us," they cried to one another. So the Lord playing a psychological warfare. So he had the Syrian armies, to think that the Israel had hired the Hittites and Egyptians to attack them, you know. So in their mind, it was an oncoming army, because he's having them here, speeding chariots and galloping horses. So they thinking like, okay, it's these niggas done hired an army, you know. So they panicked. All right, we read verse 7 says, so they panicked and ran into the night, abandoning their tents, horses, donkey, and everything else as they fled for their lives. When the lepers arrived at the edge of the camp, they went into one tent after another, eating and drinking wine. And they carried off silver and gold, all right, and clothing and hid it. So they were balling. These four lepers go out there and they balling because when you're doing the siege on someone, you also have to have a supply of food. Because if you're doing the siege, you have to have a big supply of food as a military because you can't run out of food neither while you're doing the siege. So you're gonna have a surplus of food if you're planning on doing the siege because the siege can last years. So you have to have years of surplus of food, you know, if you're wanting to do a siege because siege can take, months, years, several years. Okay. So if you want to do a siege, as an opposing military, you will have to have a surplus of food as well. Okay. And it says, so the Lord caused them to abandon all these things. Okay. And it says, when the lepers arrived at the edge of the camp, they went into one tent after another, eating and drinking wine, and they carried off silver and gold and clothing and hid it. Finally, they said to each other, this is not right. This is a day of good news, and we aren't sharing it with anyone. If we wait until the morning, some calamity will certainly fall upon us. So they showed a fear of the Lord. It says, come and let's go back and tell the people at the palace. So they went back to the city and told the gatekeepers what had happened. We went to the Armenian camp, they said, and no one was there. The horses and the donkeys were tethered, and the tents were all in order, but there wasn't a single person around. Then the gatekeeper shouted, all right, the news to the people in the palace. The king, all right, the king got out of the bed in the middle of the night and told his officers, I know what has happened. The Armenians know we are starving, so they left their camp and have hidden in the fields. They are expecting us to leave the city, and then they will take us alive and capture the city. All right, so he's, this guy here, okay, terrible leader. You see, no faith. So he's like, look, it's a trick. You see, and the Lord just opened up abundance, and then this nigga like, hold up, it's a trick. Okay, showing the spirit ain't dealing with him. It says one of his officers replied, we had better send out scouts to check into this. Let them take 5 of the remaining horses. If something happens to them, it will be no worse than if they stay here and die, all right, with the rest of us. So 2 chariots with horses were prepared, and the king sent scouts to see what had happened to the Armenian army. They went all the way to the Jordan River, following a trail of clothing and equipment that the Armenians had thrown away in their mad rush to escape. The scouts returned and told the king about it. Then the people of Samaria rushed out and plundered the Armenian camp. So they came back and like, nah, this good. This legit. And there's plenty out here. Okay? And it says, then the people of Samaria rushed out and plundered the Armenian camp. So it was true that 5 quarts of choice flour was sold that day, okay, for 1 piece of silver, and 10 quarts of barley grain was sold for 1 piece of silver, just as the Lord had promised, man. And these counts are faith boosters, man. So exactly what the Lord said will happen, happened, man. You see, this shows that He is. All right. You had that officer, okay, was you going to get into this guy? He was like, that can't happen. When Elisha told him the circumstances that the Lord was going to create, he said, that can't happen. You know? The scripture says that anything too hard, all right, for the Most High. All right, it says the king appointed his officer to control the traffic at the gate, but he was knocked down and trampled to death as the people rushed out. So this same officer that doubted that the Most High could bring forth abundance out of that situation, okay, he tried to regulate, people going to get the food, and they trampled his ass, and he died, man. Okay, so everything happened exactly as the man of the Most High had predicted when the king, all right, came to his house. The man of the Most High had said to the king, by this time tomorrow in the markets of Samaria, 5 quarts of choice silver will cost one piece, all right, of silver, and 10 quarts of barley grain will cost one piece of silver. The king's officer had replied that couldn't happen even if the Lord opened the windows of heaven. And the man of the Most High said, you will see it happen with your own eyes, but you won't be able to eat any of it, man. So he seen the Lord create abundance, okay? Or what happened? And it was so for the people trampling him to death at the gate, man. Okay, and this shows you that what, man? Let's get this. All right, Hebrews. You know, so the Lord created, abundance. Okay, out of scarcity, man. Okay, just like He created, water in the desert. Okay, that was an example of abundance. In scarcity, man. Okay, this is hold on. This is the book of Hebrews, chapter 11, and verse 6. It said, but without faith, it is impossible to please Him. Okay, and that officer, okay, the king's officer had no faith. Okay, it said, for he that cometh to the Most High must believe that He is. Okay, and when you believe that He is, you don't put bounds and restrictions on the Most High. Okay, you don't try to make Him you don't try to fit Him into your logic. When we believe that He is, we don't try to fit Him into our logic and reason and understanding. Best way to explain is He is, okay, and that He is a rewarder of them that diligently seek Him, man. And we believe that the Lord is going to hold good to His promise, man. Okay, he has a track record of being all right, faithful, man. Okay, even when you go down, it's another. All right, in verse 11, Hebrews 11:11 said, through faith, also Sarah herself received strength to conceive seed, and was delivered of a child when she was past age, because she judged him faithful who had promised. Because she judged him faithful who had promised, man. Okay, and we judge the Most High faithful who has promised, that we're going to be good in the time of scarcity, man. All right, and we ain't got to know the how. You see, we ain't trying to figure out how the Lord gonna do it. We know that He's more than able. Okay, you see. Let's go here. This is Isaiah 65:13. It said, therefore, thus said the Lord power, behold, my servant shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. Behold, my servants shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. Behold, my servants shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed. And what's the common theme? My servants. Okay, remember this grace period was for us to serve Yahweh Bashim Shai. As men, as we labor and toil, as we teach. Okay, if you're helping those men, all right, and you women, you learning your role in obedience. Okay, we're coming into what, man? What does that make us? Servants. Okay, so this grace period for us to become servants to our power. Okay, and if we're those servants, we're gonna be good, man. You see, and the Lord, day for day, the Lord's allowing us to serve, which is a privilege. Okay, it says, behold, my servants shall sing for joy of heart, but ye shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirit. Okay? So we're going to be in a good case, man. All right? And we're going to have to go through, that period of, adversity and want. All right? But the Lord, he's going to turn it into abundance, man. Okay? As you go here, I see the brother got some, let's get this. The brother, all right, GMS Tyler Doc Bun and Howard the 144K. Psalms 34:9 says, "Oh, fear the Lord, ye his saints, for there is no want to them that fear him." Okay, there is no want to them that fear him. That means that what? There's no lack. Okay, there's no lack, man. So we might have scarcity, but we're never going to be lacking. We're never going to be in want. We might not have the options that we had and the abundance that we had, you know, at a point, and we go through scarcity, but then the Lord can what? He can turn scarcity into abundance, man. Okay, more than we ever had. Okay, and we got to go into this time trusting like that, man. You know, that's the type of trust we need. Like Elder Apostle Ariam Live says, man, we need to go into Jacob trouble with momentum. Okay, and it says Psalms 34:10. It said the young lions do lack and suffer hunger, but they that seek the Lord shall not want any good thing. And said the young lion. So there's a young lion that has his strength, his speed, his wits. Okay, and even they, can go without a meal. They cannot catch nothing, even though they're in their prime. Okay, but those that fear the Lord shall not want anything. Okay, should not lack anything. We're not going to go without. Okay, you see, we're going to be tested, but the Lord is not going to have us out here destitute. Okay, like the unbelievers, man. All right, that they're going to be the ones that starving. Okay, going through that horrible death of famine. Okay. Uh, let's see. But yeah, that's the point. Well, let me get this real quick. Get these two. We can close out. Just want to touch on that though. It's a GMS. Oh, it's prisoner Yahweh Shai second is 2:27. Be not weary, for when the day of trouble and heaviness cometh, others shall weep and be sorrowful, but thou shalt be merry and have abundance, man. And we just trust this. You see? It's something we can read every day, man, and because this needs to be in us when we get into these moments, okay? You see, of things looking dire, we have to remember, the Lord promised this, man, and it's gonna come. The Lord hasn't brought us here to starve us out, man, the believers, His servants, okay? The thing is to continue in servitude, okay? Verse 28. It said, "The heathen shall envy thee, but they shall be able to do nothing against thee," said the Lord. Now, how is that situation gonna come across? We don't know. How the Lord's gonna set that scenario up where we're gonna be good and untouchable? Okay, we don't know. All right, how we're gonna have merry and abundance when people are starving? We don't know, but we know He is. Okay, and that's the main thing. So that's the point. We just wanted to get into that. I just want to get into that this morning. Reading that last night, before I went to bed. So Lord will you brothers, and you sisters edify once again, and give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Kakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers, and peace and blessing salutations to the whole elect. Shalom.